Level 1, the beginning. You are born. You are one of 671 236 babies born in Japan that year. The lowest total since records began in 1899. The 10th year running the number drops. Nationally, deaths outnumber births by 918,000. The Ward Office newsletter marks another year of decline. Your mother's hospital bill never reaches her directly. A lump sum allowance of 420,000 yen covers delivery, paid straight to the clinic. She is discharged on day 6. On the 7th night, the house fills. This is Oshichiya. You are bathed and dressed in white. It's the colour for a newborn not yet counted as a member of society. You are carried to the low table where both sets of grandparents wait. You are named. Your grandfather brushes it onto the mameisho stroke by stroke. The naming scroll will hang in the house for years. Sekian steams in a bowl. Red rice for the occasion. A whole sea bream lies beside it, eyes still in. Envelopes of money, shugabukuro, stacked by the door faster than your father can log them in his notebook. Your name goes onto the kaseki 2 days later. One line in the family register. A register that stretches back further than anyone at the table can recite. A neighbour's baby is born the same week. The 2 cribs sit close enough that the mothers start comparing sleep schedules over the fence. Your first weigh-in goes into the Byoshidecho, the maternal and child health handbook that will track you for years. Your grandmothers take turns sleeping over for the first month. Tradition says your mother should not cook or host yet. For 4 weeks, 3 generations share one roof. Your father is back at his desk before the month is out. There is no strong national custom of extended leave for him to take. Level 2, the early years. You are 6. Your sibling arrived when you were 2, a rarer thing than it used to be. Many kids on your street stay only children now. You are the older one now, splitting a room. A randoseru waits by the door. The stiff leather backpack every first grader carries. Bought new because tradition says it should be. Your entrance photo goes on the hallway wall beside your parents' old class photos. Theirs show 2 full rows of desks. Yours barely fills one. Your grade will shrink from 2 classes to 1 before 4th year. Talk starts later that the elementary school 2 neighbourhoods over might close. Its students folded into yours. Every autumn, Undakai. Grandparents in folding chairs, thermoses of tea. Your name written on a headband so nobody loses you in the 3-legged race. Every August, Obon. The train to your grandparents' hometown is packed to the doors. You light the mukibi, the welcome fire at the gate. You help fold a cucumber into a spirit horse, 4 toothpick legs, fast enough to carry ancestors home quickly. You set an eggplant cow by the door for their slower trip back. You dance badly at Bonodori, a borrowed yukata 2 sizes too big. At home, the Butsudan sits in the good room. You learn to light the incense before breakfast without being told twice. The neighbour's baby, born the same week as you, starts first grade at your side. Same homeroom, same cubby row, inseparable by the time the leaves turn. Some classmates start juku that year, 3rd grade math and kanji drills after the school bell. Not you. Not yet. Level 3, the coming of age. You are 13. The merger happens. Your junior high absorbs students from 2 neighbourhoods over, from a school that couldn't fill its own classrooms anymore. A single grade now takes the space that used to hold 2. Some faces you recognise from Undakai years back. Most you don't. Juku becomes routine. 5 o'clock to 8, sometimes 9. Homework waits until you're home. Bed lands near midnight during exam months. Juken Jigoku examination hell. Nobody says it like a joke. Your parents pay roughly 260,000 yen a year for it, on top of regular school costs. They don't discuss the number at dinner. High school entrance exams are still a year off. You take the mock version anyway. You get the ranked list back. You find your name sitting near the middle. You start crossing schools off one by one, the ones now out of reach. A classmate's family moves to Tokyo mid-year, her father's company transferring him. Her desk sits empty 2 weeks before a new nameplate goes up. Nobody says much about it. Everyone notices anyway. In September, Kiro no Hai. You hand your grandmother a folded paper ticket, a katataki ken, good for 1 shoulder massage, redeemable anytime. She cashes it in before dinner is even served, sitting very still while you work your thumbs into her shoulders. Club activities mostly end by 3rd year. Baseball, kendo, brass band, whatever it was, traded for study hours. You take a weekend shift at the konbini instead, your first paycheck stub, pocket money that's actually yours. At home, the evening news runs the year's fertility numbers again. You half listen, spoon still in your bowl. It means nothing to you yet. Level 4, the fork in the road. You are 18. University exams. The last round of Jukin, Senso, the exam war you've fought since 3rd grade. You sit the test in a gymnasium that smells like floor wax and pencil shavings. Your name comes back 2 weeks later, ranked against thousands. It lands you a spot. Not your first choice. Tuition alone would strain the household budget. Rent, if you leave home, strains it further. You pick the practical major instead. Employable. A degree that hires. In January you turn 20. Sage and cheeky. You rent a Furazode for the day, sleeves that nearly brush the floor. You stand for a photo your mother has been planning since you were born. You bow when the ward officer calls your district's name. You meet the others afterward, classmates from the junior high that absorbed a second school when you were 13. Your childhood friend is there. Different haircut. Same laugh. Your friend has an offer. Tokyo. A firm neither of you has heard of, in a district neither of you has visited. Tokyo and Okinawa are the only two prefectures still gaining people. Everywhere else empties year on year. Your friend is about to become one more line in that count. Your younger sibling, still 2 years from graduating, says the same thing at dinner that week. Not a plan yet. A direction. You work part-time through your last year of school. A contract job, no guarantee past March. More of your friends take the same kind of work. No seniority. No bonus. Nothing that adds up the way it used to for your father's generation. At home, you look up the pay charts for people who stay on the standard track. Salaries that roughly double between 22 and 55 if the company keeps you that long. First time you've run that math for yourself instead of watching your father run it. You decide quietly to stay in the region. Rent runs a third of Tokyo's. The commute is 15 minutes instead of 90. Your parents are a bus ride away, not a bullet train. It doesn't feel like a hard decision. Not yet. Level 5, entering the system. You are 23. The contract ends in March, same week as the exam years before it. This time a company keeps you. Kaishain. Full employee status, the kind your grandfather's generations took for granted, and yours doesn't. The offer letter says 40 hours a week. The calendar says otherwise. Overtime runs 60 hours some months. That brushes the health ministry's own tracked threshold, the Kuroshi line, 80 hours. Past that point, cardiac and stroke risk climbs sharply enough to warrant a government label. Your starting salary sits well under the national average of 4.78 million yen. Twice a year a bonus shoyo closes part of the gap. The Nenko system means the real money is 15-20 years off if you last that long. A coworker collapses at his desk in October. Mid-30s, married, a stretch of near-nightly overtime behind him. He's fine, technically. 3 weeks of leave. A quiet reassignment to a lighter desk when he's back, nobody naming why out loud. A senpai in your section starts walking you to lunch after that. Insists you take the paid leave the company owes you and rarely uses. A standing Tuesday at the Raymond shop across from the station becomes the best hour of your week. The 1 hour nobody schedules over. You register with a Konkatsu service that's spring. You upload a photo. You list your income bracket, your hometown, your hobbies in 3 words or fewer. You wait for matches that don't arrive as fast as the brochure promised. A first match falls through after 4 dinners, polite texts, then no texts at all. You start over with a different photo. The fatigue sets in within a few months. National surveys say most singles registered feel it too. Average age at first marriage has drifted to 31 for men, near 30 for women. You are, without meaning to be, right on schedule. At an all-staff meeting that autumn, someone mentions the caps from the 2019 Work-Style Reform Law, 45 hours a month, the stated ceiling. Nobody in the room says whether the department actually meets it. The meeting moves to the next item. Level 6, the build. You are 32. You marry that spring. A modest haul. Half the guest list your parents' generation, half your own. The balance has shifted since your parents' wedding photos, fewer of your father's co-workers, more of your own friends scattered in from other cities. They fly back for the day, then fly out again. You and your spouse spend over a year deciding on a child. Not indecision. Arithmetic. Daycare fees. The cost of a crib. The wage your spouse would lose on leave. Numbers neither of you had bothered to add up before. You decide on one. 7 nights after the birth, the house fills again. Oshichiya. You hold the brush over the Maimei this time, not your father. You feel his hand steady yours anyway, the way his father once steadied his. You taste the same Sekihan, the same tie eye still in. You watch your mother hold the baby the exact way she once held you. The local daycare waitlist runs 8 months long. Your spouse goes back to work sooner than either of you planned. At a routine checkup that autumn, your mother's doctor uses a phrase for the first time. Keep an eye on it. Nothing confirmed. No name attached yet. The sentence lodges itself somewhere you can't quite reach to dislodge it. You take out a mortgage that year. A small house, more space for the child. 20 minutes further from the train line than you'd have liked. Plenty of couples your age are making the same trade. Your salary crosses the national average for the first time that winter. 15 years in. The seniority system finally paying out the way the chart said it would. Back when you first looked them up at 22. Level 7, the reckoning. You are 47. The keep an eye on it becomes a name. A real diagnosis on paper, copied into your mother's own handwriting so she won't forget what the doctor said. Appointments start landing on your work calendar in a way you can no longer schedule around. Your manager notices before you say anything. Your sibling can't come back. A decade in Tokyo. A title, a mortgage of her own. A job neither of you quite thinks she should walk away from. 300 kilometers separate her apartment from your mother's kitchen. The caregiving lands on you by geography, not by anyone's decision. You ask HR about the family care leave the handbook promises. You request the paperwork the same week. You run the 93 days against what's already on your calendar. You realise, doing the math twice to be sure, that it covers barely half of what's coming. Roughly 100,000 people a year quit their jobs nationwide for exactly this. Kaigo Rishoku. You run your own mortgage and your kids' tuition through the same math. You don't like where either number lands. That January Oshigatsu. 3 generations at the table for what turns out to be one of the last ordinary ones. Your mother cooks, slower than she used to, but she cooks. Your kid, still young enough to be shamelessly spoiled, gets the good mochi first the way you once did at that same table. Some evenings, she still sits with your kid over homework, guiding a pencil stroke by stroke, patient in a way the diagnosis hasn't touched yet. Your own kid started Juku at 9. Same age you did. Same 5 to 8 schedule. Same backpack that never seems lighter no matter how many workbooks finish. You watch it happen exactly the way it happened to you. You say nothing. There's nothing new to say. Whether your mother's numbers hold steady or slide, nobody can tell you yet. Not this year. You register her for long-term care insurance that spring. Kaigo Hoken. Premiums she's paid since she turned 40, never expecting to need them this early. Your own checkup that year turns up numbers your father wasn't warned about until 60. Blood pressure. Cholesterol. Decades of overtime finally itemised on a printout instead of just felt in your shoulders. Level 8, the descent. You are 58. Your mother moves to full home care under Kaigo Hoken. A 10% copay on services that would be unaffordable on her pension alone. A care worker lets herself in 3 mornings a week with the spare key you cut specifically for this. You cut your own hours to manage the rest. Your pay adjusts downward to match. The exact trade you ran the numbers on years ago. The one you hoped you'd never actually need. Mandatory retirement hits that winter, the age fixed by decades-old company policy. You clean out a decade of desk drawer. You hand back the building pass you've carried since your 20s. You sign the Shokataku contract the following Monday. You sit down at the same desk, 1 grade lower on paper. Same view of the parking lot you've had for years. That August, Obon. You're the one lighting the Mukabe fire this year, not your grandfather, not your father. Your kid folds the cucumber into a spirit horse, 4 toothpick legs, at the same gate you once knelt at. Your mother watches from a chair somebody's carried outside for her. Too unsteady now to stand through the whole thing. Your mother dies at home that spring, the way she'd said for years she wanted to go. Family in the room instead of a hospital corridor. No monitors. No fluorescent lighting. Her funeral follows the rites you've watched, performed your whole life. You never expected to be the one arranging them. Her photograph and a tablet take their place on the butt sedan, the one you've tended since you were 7, lighting incense before breakfast, without being told twice. Whether your own pension will stretch far enough is a question you start running numbers on. Almost before the funeral costs finish clearing. Your sibling flies back for the funeral, first time in years her feet touch this platform. The 2 of you sit up past midnight in the kitchen, the way you haven't since you both still lived under this roof, saying less than you mean to, understanding each other anyway. Level 9 the last years. You are 67. Your pension arrives as 2 payments. The flat rate Kikumin Nenkin plus the Kosei Nenkin tied to your years as a company employee. Together, a fraction of what you made at your peak. Enough, now that the mortgage is finally actually paid off. A neighbour 2 doors down is found 4 days after he dies. Kodo Kushi. The kind of case the local news now runs as its own regular segment. Complete with a number to call if you're worried about someone on your street. It rattles the block for weeks. People who haven't spoken in years start knocking on doors again. The neighbourhood's Minseen volunteer starts weekly check-ins on the block's older residents not long after. You're on both ends of that list now. You check on the widower 2 houses past where the Kodakushi happened. You check on the couple whose son moved to Osaka years back. You check on the old woman who was your 3rd grade teacher, still sharp, still living alone. You start remembering half the street's medication schedules better than your own. In September, Kiro no Hai, your grandchild hands you a folded paper ticket, a katataki ken, the same coupon you once made for your own grandmother on this same holiday more than half a century back. You cash it in exactly the way she did, sitting very still, letting small hands work at your shoulders. Your own footing starts feeling less certain than it used to. Nothing with a name yet. Just a slower step off the train platform, a hand on the railing you didn't used to need. Your childhood friend, retired now too, visits from Tokyo that spring. You meet for tea near the station. Two cribs once sat close enough here for your mothers to compare sleep schedules over a fence. Half a century, and you still finish each other's sentences. You take on small volunteer shifts yourself that year. Part of the same watch system that watches you. It doesn't feel strange. It feels like the next turn of something that's been turning your whole life. Your own kid, with a family a short train ride away rather than a long one, visits most weekends now. Your siblings' 300 kilometres didn't repeat itself this generation. Small mercy, and you know it. You notice it walking to the market some mornings. How few children's voices carry down the street compared to when you were young. Not a new fact. Just one you're finally close enough to the ground to hear clearly. Level 10, the legacy. You are 83. The slow decline from a few years back becomes a final hospital stay that winter. Tests, then more tests, then a doctor who chooses her words carefully. You ask to go home. Your family arranges it within the week. You die at home, among family. Fewer people manage that every year. More end up in a hospital bed at the end. Or alone in a house nobody checks until a neighbour notices something's wrong. You are not one of those numbers. Your family made sure of it. They gather in the days before. Your kid. Your grandchild, old enough now to understand what's happening, young enough that it still doesn't feel real. Extended family fills the house the way it hasn't in years. They sit around the same butsudan that held 3 generations of names before yours was ever added to the list. Your funeral follows the same rites you once arranged for your mother, the same kind of hall, the same sutras you couldn't have named back then but recognise now in your bones. Your name is brushed onto a new tablet. It will sit on the altar your grandchild inherits. The same altar you dusted every morning as a child, without once being told to. Your grandchild lights incense for you for the first time. Hands not steady yet. Smoke goes sideways before it finds its column straightens and rises the way it's supposed to. The Koseki entry filed the week you were born closes the same week. Same ward office. A clerk neither older nor younger than the one who opened it, 83 years before. 2 lines run in the community paper. The same paper that once printed your birth announcement. A town with fewer subscribers left each year to read either one. Across town, in a house you never once visited, a family is 7 nights into a newborn's life. The naming scroll is already brushed. The rice is already steaming red with sekihan. A fish laid out beside it, eyes still in. The grandparents are already gathered, already arguing gently over which kanji looks best on the page. The 7th night begins again. For a name you will never hear.